New Delhi is doubling down on its strategic partnership with Moscow. It says it will continue to buy Russian oil. Prime Minister Modi has had a detailed conversation with what Mr. Modi called his good friend Putin. This week also saw India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval meeting President Putin at the Kremlin. Doval confirmed the Russian leader will visit India later this year. Meanwhile, in a show of strength by another BRICS partner, the Indian Prime Minister also spoke with Brazil's president over the phone, reaffirming a strategic partnership on trade, health, and defense. Now let's take a closer look at what happens now. Can India and the U.S. bounce back from this low point? Should India retaliate? We're joined by Wendy Cutler, a former trade diplomat who has worked on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, U.S.-China negotiations, and the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement. Wendy, thank you for your time here on Washington Watch. Wendy, you've spent 3 decades as a trade negotiator. How bad is the fallout between the United States and India?
I think it's a fluid situation, but let's say right now we're at a recent low point. U.S.-India relations have been strengthening under both Republican and administrations, including Trump 1.0, for many years. We've been doing more together economically, strategically, through the Quad, through other groupings. And so what the two countries are experiencing now is a clear setback. But I'm hopeful that both sides can find a way through what looks like a mess right now.
Wendy, China has put up a fight with the U.S. as far as not caving into Trump's demands as well. You could argue that Trump is giving Beijing more wiggle room because basically China has this Trump card, which is rare earths. That's important to the Silicon Valley tech bros and even U.S. defense companies. Wondering what leverage does India need to show to strike a deal that's favorable to India?
Look, India has a lot going for it, but whether that serves as negotiating leverage is a different question. I'm sure there are calls within India to retaliate in kind against the United States. I personally don't think that would be a beneficial move. I think our president has shown how he responds to retaliation, and I think that would unnecessarily spiral what's already a bad situation into a worse one. But I think India can remind the United States of the important market it has, also the important alternative its market provides to companies that are invested in China, and frankly, our overall strategic partnership, which frankly is extremely important, particularly in this very unstable world.
Right, Wendy. Now, you said that India needs to be cautious in not retaliating. India has been measured and calm throughout. Maybe do you think we should change strategy, perhaps, given how ugly things have gotten?
Look, I don't pretend to give advice to any country. Each government will do what they need to do. But I think particularly with retaliating, I think all countries should really think that through, because it is evident that our president, whether they like it or not, is just not going to let it die, at that level. What he tends to do is view that as an assault against him, and he'll come back punching. So again, it's up to India to decide the best way to proceed. I mean, I'm a bit encouraged that it seems like we're having a trade team go over to India in the next few weeks to continue negotiations. And also, at least even though the 25% tariff came in against India, there's a 21-day limit before the next 25% tranche would come in. And so that 3 weeks in a trade negotiator's world can be a long time. And particularly with the team going out there, there is a scenario where there is de-escalation and maybe even a trade agreement is reached within the next 21 days.
Wendy, India says it's been unfairly punished for buying Russian oil when the U.S. and Europe are also doing business with Russia and also enabling the Kremlin's war machine. It's really a valid argument, calling out double standards, but do you think it's an effective argument, or will the Trump administration just shrug it off like it does with so many other things?
Look, I think it's important for other countries to point out inconsistencies in our policy. I don't think that those kind of points, necessarily lay on deaf ears. I also don't think it's going to change the situation overnight. But I have seen our president in the past 48 hours say that he's going to be looking at other countries as well that purchase Russian oil. So who knows? Maybe he said that in response to something that, India has expressed to him. But I know that there's a sense of unfairness in Delhi. Why are they being penalized? But when you look at the numbers, Indian imports of Russian oil have increased dramatically in recent years. There's no doubt about that. That's kind of where we are. And again, I think it's not, from my point of view, we're not asking India overnight to just end all of these imports. I think that if India were to show that it's taking this seriously and it starts decreasing its imports in a sizable way and it starts looking for other importers, I think that could contribute to a solution between both governments.
How much of this trade battle with India is really a proxy war with Russia, Wendy, because Trump appears to be fed up with Putin over the Ukraine war, and turning up the heat on India on Russian oil is actually intended to put the squeeze on Moscow?
That's one way to look at it, but I would also say that there's talk now of a meeting between Putin and Trump, and I think that shows that we're not looking for proxies. I think Trump's looking to solve this war, and he's going right to the source.
All right, so this meeting between Trump and Putin next week could help things go away, do you think? Much of those penalties on Russian oil, perhaps?
Look, in international politics, it's very rare that anything goes away as a result of a meeting. I think what the expectation could be that with both leaders talking, maybe they can chart a way forward to de-escalate and over time to end this conflict.
Wendy Cutler, former U.S. trade diplomat, joining us here on Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time.